Hello chat, I hope we're all doing well today. This video is going to be a little bit less structured than the rest of my content because, much like this video, my life is in complete disarray. At least half of this was of my own volition, so don't feel sorry for me. Nonetheless, I'd like to speak on something that I've had some struggles with recently. You must be honest. I know, milquetoast as always, but there's somewhere to go with this, especially in the modern age. To be truthful in the digital age is to be kind of abnormal, really. I've always been a bit of an outcast because I was raised to tell the truth and be honest with the world as I interact with it. I see the cycles and the systems and the powers that be in religion and politics and in people's personal lives when I see bad behavior, manipulative behavior, abusive behavior. I see it all around the world. It really doesn't change that much between the place to place. And people will capitulate to this abuse very easily. I know that I have been subject to it at least once or twice, and I accepted it because I felt that I had no other place to go. It's an unfortunate position, and a very good example of this, if you may have seen it, is Apocalypse Now. In it, there is a fairly intelligent, college-educated photographer who finds himself in the heart of darkness with Colonel Kurtz. This individual is surrounded by death, by destruction, by chaos, heads mounted on pikes, GIs and Vietnamese alike strung up to rot by a complete goddamn madman. But this photographer, having no way to escape, nowhere else to go, and no true strength of his own to combat the environment that he's in, completely buys in to the facade that Colonel Kurtz has put up for himself as sort of king of the jungle. Now, say what you want about any racial tension that might come with calling the natives a bit uninformed. At the very least, we can recognize that the American-educated, first-world-educated, college-educated photographer should be able to realize the carnage around him is not natural, it's not kosher, it's not sane, it's insane, it's madness. But this photographer is by far the most dedicated worshipper of Colonel Kurtz, because he has nowhere to go. He feels he has nowhere to go. Most people have somewhere to go. Most people can figure out a way and a how to get the hell out of a bad situation. But they have to want that. Otherwise, they're going to sit there and they're going to rot and they'll be abused and they will be hurt and they will suffer in silence because they believe themselves that they are either too weak, too stupid, or too bad of a person to deserve anything else. And that is bullshit. Now, what does this have to do with honesty? Well, it takes honesty to recognize when you are in these situations. It takes honesty to recognize when others are in these situations. And like I said, I speak on anything under the sun that doesn't sit right with me, which is a lot. Perhaps too much. I am a bit of a jaded shitter. But no one ever calls me a liar. No one ever says that I'm a fool. They might not like me. Many people do not like me. And I kind of embrace that. Because in the age of the internet, there are so many different echo chambers, and there's so many purity tests to see if you're one of the real ones. Republican, conservative, Democrat, liberal, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, etc., etc., etc. It doesn't matter to me. A person is a person. The groups that they pick up to make their identity, those are just... they're not monoliths. They like to be viewed as such, but they're not. At the end of the day, every person is still just a bag of meat with an electric pound of flesh between their ears. and they may fall back on their favorite politician, or their favorite god, or their favorite sexuality, and claim that that is somehow absolves them or puts them in the right side of history. I hate that. History is not written by anyone who's right, it's written by whoever the fuck is left. There is no right side of history. There's just different groups of people who have different ideologies. And I'm a very Western inclined person. I think that a lot of the things that happen in Asia and the Middle East and Africa are pretty tragic. Let's be real. I don't think that's a hot take, but some people do, and those people are kind of insane. So I am honest with these types of people. I'm honest with people who put themselves in abusive positions and do not realize it or just ignore it. And they don't like me for this. They despise me for I speak the truth. And that's okay. I am tired of trying to get people to like me. And I hope that you can reach the same conclusion, because if you're not honest with yourself, if you are a people pleaser, if you think that if you just kowtow to whoever is in charge or whoever is screeching the loudest, you'll find peace, then, as I believe a forefather put it, those who will sacrifice freedom for the perception of security deserve neither. That's a bit of paraphrasing, I think, but the point remains, submission is a form of death. It's a very slow, methodical one that tears down your identity and breaks your spirit. And eventually, if you're not honest with yourself, you will stop being honest with others, and then you won't know what to believe anymore. You won't have a moral compass or an understanding of the world that is even remotely rational. And that's how these people in these echo chambers who get so up in the tizzy when I say something like, I don't know, biological men shouldn't participate in women's sports. They throw a fit. They call me the good old AH. You know who I'm talking about, funny mustache man. They say that I'm the goddamn incarnate of the devil. And they try to throw these insults at me, but no one tells me I am wrong, no one tells me that I'm being untruthful. I just want to share and tell you that that shit ain't healthy. If you have some perspective that can never be questioned in your entire existence on this earth, you have a problem, and you need to be honest with yourself and see if there is a particular reason why this is such an inalienable truth. Now, if we're talking about like the earth being round or gravity, there's a little bit more leeway, but if it's something about a politician or a political party or a god or your favorite food is macaroni and cheese, question that shit, man. Ask yourself why. If you have your entire family or your entire friend group telling you you're an idiot for something, ask yourself why, and really think about it, and put the magnifying glass over your heart and your mind, not them. It's so easy to just blame the rest of the world for all of your problems, but it's you. It's me. I am the problem. And I'm gonna be the problem. And I'm gonna continue being the problem in the lives of people who aren't honest, because I despise it. You cannot grow if you're lying to yourself constantly about whatever it is that you have this deep-seated need to be true. And I'm not saying that everything you question will turn out to be wrong, I'm just saying if you don't question why this is happening or why you're doing this, you're not going to understand yourself enough to keep yourself defended against other dishonest people. It's very easy to get manipulated, especially when you can't be true to yourself. Now, what does it mean to be true to yourself, to be honest? Well, to tell you the truth, I'm not really sure. I have my particular solution, which is essentially to try to logic my way through whatever it is I'm going through. If I have a particular emotion, or if I hold a value that is so staunch that I can't be friends with someone if they disagree with me, I question that. I try to figure out what components of this belief is so integral to my core values that it must be true. I think a pretty solid example is the First Amendment. I'm pretty much a First Amendment absolutist. Barring things like doxing or death threats are kind of whatever. I think we should threaten politicians more, but not the point. I'm a free speech absolutist because I understand that the free market of ideas and being able to have every person add their opinion and see what the general consensus is on that opinion is how we progress as a species. There are many, many bad opinions. You know, opinions are like assholes, blah, 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 blah. But those opinions still matter to a degree because the individual giving that opinion has an entirely different perspective on the world than you do. And sometimes that perspective is more educated than yours. Sometimes that perspective has more life wisdom behind it than yours does. But sometimes that opinion is just goddamn stupid. And the free market and allowing those ideas to propagate throughout it and be either shot down or put on a pedestal is what allows us to kind of decide what a society looks like. What will the world continue to look like as we try to apply these principles that we've been discussing into real life? The reason why communism and fascism cannot allow freedom of speech is because if the general opinions of the masses were to get out onto the grand stage, a lot of people would recognize how fucking stupid that it is. That fascism is, that communism is. Or hell, even worse for the government, the truth comes out. The real truth. The truth that the Soviet farmers knew. The truth that the child soldiers of the Wehrmacht knew. Keeping people honest is a pretty blood-boiling activity, and most people don't want to be honest. And I can admit when I've not been wholly honest. And that's, unfortunate. That point was a little bit rambly, but just to get to the fact of I believe in the First Amendment because I believe it is a betterment to society. I don't believe in censorship because I recognize through history and through my own personal experiences that it only benefits malicious intent. Long live Stalin, he loves you. Sing these words or you'll know what he'll do. And it's actually because of these cult of personality political philosophies that I also believe in the Second Amendment. And I recognize the many examples of why the Second Amendment is detrimental to society. Being someone who's grown up basically all over the world, I've recognized and seen the ups and downs of having an armed society. I recognize that it sucks when there's a school shooting. Obviously. Everybody knows that this is horrific. But I personally think that has a lot more to do with a school system that is designed to make workers instead of critical thinkers, as well as public school being entirely overcrowded and full of actual morons. Both the students and the staff, mind you. But I accept that these are risks that we must deal with and try to alleviate the best we can. But I also seen what an unarmed society looked like, in both good and bad lights too. I lived in Japan, and that was a absolutely lovely experience, full of very welcoming, kind individuals, and they had no guns, and they lived pretty happily and comfortably because they had a government that respected their people. I don't know how long that's going to continue, but as of right now, I think that the Japanese government is in favor of helping its citizens. On the flip side of that, I've lived in England. England is also a disarmed society, and you just need to look at what's currently happening in England to recognize how horrific it is that they don't have guns. What's happening in England would not fly in the States. You know it, I know it, that it wouldn't. The English pay an insane amount of taxes, and they cope by saying that their transportation is good and they have free healthcare, but their transportation still costs about £200 or £300 to travel from one city to another, which is, like $400 by the way. And when they need a goddamn physician, instead of using their good old NHS free healthcare, they either subsidize it to a private company that has private health insurance, or they go to a foreign country where they have private doctors that can actually see them. Because waiting for 6 months for a hole in your tooth or a heart attack is not sustainable. But they have to accept these truths. They have to accept the insane, exorbitant tax, and they have to accept their government basically working against them in a lot of different ways right now. Just watch Count Dankula if you don't believe me. Because they are not armed. Because they can't pull a powder keg plot. Because they can't roll up to the grooming gangs and gun them down. And it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate to see England in the position that it's at. I hope that they can find out some way to fix the clusterfuck that's going on. And censorship. First Amendment censorship. It's out the door, folks. It is gone. People are getting put in jail for tweets, for personal texts in personal group chats. People are being sent to prison for years. And how did they get there? By not being honest. By not being truthful. For not calling out shit when they see it. Because the British have a philosophy, a mindset of just is what it is, isn't it? It ain't it. It ain't it. So I hope that all of this rambling means anything to anyone. I hope that at least one person can stop and just ask themselves why it is so goddamn important that someone else is a Democrat or a Republican to them, or someone else is Labor or Tory, or whatever the case may be, that someone is the right religion as you. Really ask yourself, what is so divinely important about these abstract monoliths that forces you to separate yourself from other human beings? Why judge someone on a identity rather than the actions that they are doing? I've worked with pretty much every race and creed, and I don't particularly have a problem with any of them because I didn't have a problem with the person. I have a problem with the grand scheme of most of these mass monoliths that other people find very frustrating when I call them out on it, but the ones who are honest with themselves and can recognize where I'm coming from and what I'm saying, those are the realest motherfuckers you will ever meet, and those are the kinds of people that you want in your life. People who are rational and intelligent enough to see what you are saying and try to piece together why you're saying. It is so important. It's the only way that we're going to progress as a society, is if we talk to each other. If we see the bullshit that we're spewing at each other and call each other out on it. That's all I want. All I want is freedom of honesty. And you can't be very honest in the digital world. Every platform has some form of censorship that they can arbitrate at any time because they don't like you. So I will leave you folks with this, to just be true to yourself. If you find yourself in a position where you don't feel your heart anymore, I need you to ask yourself why. I need you to ask yourself why whatever it is that you're doing that's hurting you is so important that you have to keep doing it. And it's going to be hard. It's hard for me to be true, to be honest. I can be honest about other people all day long. I'll call anyone out for their bullshit. But me? It's hard. I'll admit it. I can pull the same mental gymnastics as everyone else. Intelligent people, not to call myself particularly intelligent people are very, very good at duping themselves, at lying to themselves about something because they think that they have something to gain from it, or feel that they have no other prospect in life to do what their heart is telling them to do. And I don't want that for anyone. I don't want that for anyone in this whole wide world to feel like they are being untrue to themselves. Because I know what that's like, and it's painful. It's very painful. And it will suck your soul away, and there will come a day where you will need some surgeon to put a metal ticker in your chest to keep pumping the coagulated blood in your veins. Anyway, thank you to my patrons. Very big video underway. Lots of memes, lots of rambling. I'm gonna try to crank out more of these like rant type videos. I think that I have something important to say, and I need to get it off my chest, otherwise I'm going to explode. But big videos, big plans, underway. I just take forever to edit. I'm gonna try to speed that up somehow. And, yeah, I hope you have a lovely day. See y'all.